So, without any further introduction, here is Reed Simpson.
Well, thank you very much for the introduction, Stephen. And after they fished me out of the bottom of Lake Michigan, he said, it was literally right after that, I think Stephen said, let's get you to start a chapter in Kansas City. I think he felt bad for having put me through that. And so we went to work right after that. That was last October. My name's Reed Simpson, and I just can't begin to describe how good I feel about all these colleagues. We're all working towards, I think, the same goal to reform money in our country, and we're following the great leadership of Stephen Zarlenga, who's kind of forged a path ahead of us, and then there's others that he's standing on the shoulders of, and it's also great that we can even kind of be pioneering talking about this subject, which is almost verboten since the early 1900s. So I think we have to take a stand. If we come to learn this stuff, just not be afraid to speak about it and learn all you can about it. About myself, I have a master's in architecture, and I work day to day just in development for a hotel chain, developing new sites around the country. But in another time, I was a banker for 16 years. I worked in commercial lending. So a sociopath, a pariah, whatever you want to call it. I don't think I was, but I didn't know. I knew a lot about the mechanics of the banking that I was involved in, but much of it I've had to relearn in the last few years. Two of the greatest books that I can refer to are, of course, The Lost Science of Money, and the other one that kind of got me on this right path, I would say Eustace Mullins' Secrets of the Federal Reserve. And he was urged to write his book by Ezra Pound, a poet. So there's just a lot out there to get people started down this path. And back in 1980, I was a bearded graduate student at the London School of Economics, and that is in the City of London. And then after that, I was working in banks. So I've always had an interest in the money system and knowing how it works. I've been involved in the expansion side of fractional reserve banking, also on the contraction side in the S&L crisis, liquidating the financial assets. So been involved in both of that. So it's a real honor to be involved and to come to find out that AMI existed when about 3 years ago, maybe 4, right after his book came out, Stephen spoke in Kansas City to about an audience of 80, at least 80 people, maybe 100. And somehow I heard about it and bought the book, and then came last year to this meeting. Kansas City, it's a city of fountains, and they're building a new Kansas City Fed, which hopefully that'll be under the U.S. government ownership someday. Right now it's just a private building, and there's another future Treasury Department property, the New York Fed. I like the urgency of what we're doing is the bridges that are collapsing and that the engineers have pointed out are all in disrepair. The levees in the Mississippi Delta region, that is from one of Stephen's presentation. And I went down as a consultant immediately after Katrina and stayed there for 2 months. And I lived in Camp X-Ray and saw hundreds of homes and buildings in the middle of that devastation. And partly I was just interested in seeing how bad it was and what if it's going to be able to be rebuilt. So, you know, I see the effects of problems with our infrastructure firsthand. So last year, Stephen challenged us to start a chapter in Kansas City. He gave us immediately, this was right after this meeting, he gave us a list of potential organizers in the Kansas City area because he has a lot of contacts already from the previous times he'd been there. And then we made a formal request to start a new chapter. We got started and had a pre-organizational meeting with Charles Walters and his son Tim. Ben Kelsius, who we all know just invited Stephen to the Green Party convention, and some of you have heard his lecture there. So Ben Kelsius and myself, and we had a couple of meetings, just pre-organizational meetings. And in the midst of that, I came up and attended the Chicago chapter meeting to see how one of the real chapters were going. We set our location for the first meeting. It was just a small meeting in Kansas City where it'd be a formal. So we had that. This is our agenda. I just want to show tonight, or this afternoon, just the mechanics. It's not real exciting of how we got it started, but I hope that just about any one of you would consider going back to your town and starting a chapter. And it's necessary that we all do something. If you don't start a chapter, that you, of course, are doing something in some area to promote this reform. We nominated individuals for an interim operating committee. We went over a CD-ROM of the monetary history. We wanted to make sure that just some of the basis of what we're going to be doing in our future chapter. These are some of the founding members. Here, Charles Walters, myself, Gary Crome, who's sitting right here from Independence, Missouri, and some other gentlemen that couldn't be here tonight. So the main thing we wanted to do is Stephen agreed to come to Kansas City and speak, and Charles agreed to speak as well. So we would have two great national speakers. That being set, and that we had now an official chapter, we scouted out a location at a large, about 30,000 plus student campus nearby. They would not give us the room for free, so we paid money for it. We got a videotaper lined up who would videotape the entire event. And then we arranged for advance interviews on several radio shows for Stephen to call in, or if it was a day of the event, that he would actually speak to him from Kansas City. And that was part of our publicity. We also had a lot of brochures made up, and each of us took it out and put it on college campuses, just libraries, anywhere we could, the month before the event to try to promote this. We also paid $100 for just a spot on a radio station, just to try to get some additional interest in it. We went to several other seminars in the area where there was a lot more people, and handed out flyers and sold copies of the book at those as well. And these were diverse people, diverse crowds of people that wouldn't ordinarily maybe know about the money. And so we got some people from those events. Interestingly, one of the guys at the original organizing meeting, I'm not sure, he came from somewhere outside of Kansas City, and he had a whole group of people. He says, I can bring 30 people to this event. And I think he brought it probably 10 or 15, and it was just that kind of enthusiasm. If you'll have this, everyone in that room said, I'll make sure at least 10. So each of them was, I'll make sure at least 10 people that I know will be there. And so with that, we knew then we can also blanket and try to get people we don't know. Who did the emails to all the economics professors? That was Gary. He said, I'm going to so he got online and put up a database of all the emails of 4 or 5 of the local universities. He went down the finance professors, economics professors, and put them all in one, and then started sending them a personalized letter inviting them to this event. And we did get several. I mean, it was disappointing they didn't all show up, but we got several that came and asked some pointed questions. And I can see doing that again, and you still have the mailing list, and that was a great idea that you did. Here was, I couldn't transfer our brochure, but this was just the basics of what our brochure said. We held the event again at the community college on a Wednesday night. Charles was the first speaker, weren't you, Charles? Yeah, I believe he was the first speaker, and then he introduced Stephen. We had lots of Q&A after it all. At least 35. Do you remember how many people there? Probably more, but
like 35 to 40 at least.
Yeah. And I say, what are the lessons learned? Well, the attendance was good, but I think we could exceed it if we'd have done more flyers and everywhere. And We lost a few people maybe at the halftime break, maybe 5, but just because we didn't have the coffee right there in the room. So they kind of got lost on the way to the coffee machine. And then I put here, we could probably target local universities, economics classes, and also people in the financial industry, people who are already attracted and interested in the money system, and we can expose them to something new. They're going to be resistant, but at least they already have that interest because that maybe is their career or something. And then just, we haven't really looked, we haven't exploited that side. People are kind of, we want to put the word out there, and then, we're there. They have to find us. It's part of it. So, one of the things I think we'll do this is good as a local study group. We can ask each other questions. We can learn more about the money system with each other. I put real bank. You can't really see that, but we'll use, just in chapter meetings, so we'll use real bank. This is from a real bank in the Kansas area, financial statements, and to kind of get right at the micro level and say, how did they take that from month to month and create new money there? What does it look for a single bank? And then try to say, okay, well, what if that was a one-bank town? How would that affect how would that bank expand the money supply just by itself? Because this is a conundrum, and I think I want each and every one of us in that room, after reading Stephen's book, to have some grasp of this, how this bank does create its own money, because then we can see, well, when it go to 100% reserve requirement, how is it going to function thereafter? Because we don't want to eliminate banking, completely here. That's not the goal. And so we just don't want to have too much collateral damage trying to reform our country. And so that's one of the things. So we'll be looking at real, and just I have insight, just like a lot of us have tracks to other bankers that are, and that can get this kind of information, and then we can go back with questions to these guys, say, well, how did this happen, Because I'm still trying to grasp some of this, of course, when you put it in the context of fractional reserve banking, because you have to put on a different visor when you try to see that. So we'll be studying kind of real bank stuff. What's the money power's ability to create wars, and war is one of the most convenient means for them to expand the money supply, and they have this voracious, insatiable appetite for new debt money. Wars is the most convenient. So I think we need to see an end to that, and that's one of my goals here in this whole thing. And they have, of course, wars is convenient. There's a lot of other methods they employ to create new debt money. I want to see no more war memorials. So those are from former Soviet Union era war memorials. So we have the same in Kansas City. The World War I war memorial for the whole country is based there, the War to End All Wars, and a very popular place these days. But it's really should be of no great interest for our future. So I just want to say, go out and start a new AMI local chapter, and from an acorn seed to become a mighty oak. And it'll seem like just a few people. Chicago, I thought I'd go to Chicago chapter and see 80 people at the Chicago chapter meeting, and it was a committed group of a dozen people, and that's all it takes. And who knows where it's going to grow. And all in the past, all these kind of organizations, that's how they start. And we just have to have hope that they'll really grow. Thank you.